From our State House studio in Montgomery, I'm Todd Stacy. Welcome to Capitol Journal. It was a long day here in the State House as the legislature met for the 24th day. That leaves 6 legislative days left in this regular session. But before the House and Senate even convened, there was news out of the Department of Justice in Birmingham that would dominate the day. State Representative Fred Plump of Fairfield has agreed to resign following an announcement that he faces federal charges of conspiracy and obstruction of justice. The announcement came from Prim Escalona, the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama. She said an IRS and FBI investigation found that Plump conspired with another unnamed lawmaker to direct state-funded kickbacks through a nonprofit youth baseball program. Prosecutors said Plump's nonprofit received $400,000 in state grants and then, in turn, paid $200,000 of those funds in kickbacks to a fellow lawmaker's assistant who was also Plump's girlfriend. The obstruction charge comes from Plump allegedly texting, quote, "red alert" to others involved when he found out that he was under investigation. Later today, we found out who that unnamed lawmaker was. State Representative John Rogers of Birmingham told reporters he was the one mentioned in the report, but he maintained he's innocent of any wrongdoing. Rogers refused to speak on camera, but had this to say to reporters in the State House. "I ain't seen a dime. Once you give money to somebody, they do what they do with it. You can't do nothing about it. Fred Plump, over 5 years, according to what the FBI showed me, I had given him over $400,000, and 50% of that he gave to a young lady he was dating for 5 years. That was my assistant. I didn't get any money." End quote. On to legislation. There was significant debate in the House today over a bill meant to grow the entertainment industry's footprint in Alabama. House Bill 429 from State Representative Jamie Keel would allow more production companies, including those in film, music, and virtual reality, to be eligible for tax incentives. It also incrementally raises the cap the state is allowed to allocate in tax credits to $65 million next year, $110 million the year after that, and then $150 million after 2026. Debate centered around an amendment that would bring that first year's cap down to $50 million.
So in our land of free money and taking it out of the ETF, we just said that this is just the music industry and the film industry and AI. It's unlimited.
So let me ask you this:
I'll answer.
What are you taking out? If a movie doesn't come, what are you taking out?
Do you know how many people work in the film commission in the state?
But how many?
No. Do you understand the film commission in the state of Alabama?
But if they don't come, what's taken out?
Again, the simple question was, do you know anything about the film commission in the state of Alabama? The answer to that is you do not know. Okay, they have very limited staff. Okay? Matter of fact, the director works part-time. Okay, and I even spoke with a sponsor regarding this bill, worked on it since February, maybe longer than that, to try to get a bill that
So you're in favor of the bill?
I'm in favor of the bill as it is, not with the unlimited cap.
That amendment was adopted, and the bill passed 101-1. It now goes to the Senate. The Senate again bogged down today in another lengthy filibuster. This time, it was over legislation making updates to the Alabama Accountability Act, the state's original school choice bill. Senate Bill 263 from State Senator Donnie Chesteen would increase the number of students in struggling schools eligible for scholarships and tax credits to attend other schools. It would also increase the amount of scholarships elementary and middle school students could receive, as well as the total amount the state can leverage toward tax credits. Democrats, led by State Senator Bobby Singleton, argued that the measure takes away from public schools.
What if 50 8th graders go over to this school and they got already 50 and their divisors are at 20 per classroom? And that's why they're successful, because their divisors so low that they're able to have that one-on-one intervention and be able to teach those children the way they want to. Now you just double the size of their classroom, but these other kids are coming. How do you handle that?
that is still in the hands of the local board as to how many students that they can accept because of capacity. Just like you said, if they don't have room to take 50 students in the 8th grade, that local board can determine that number of students that they can handle.
After 5 hours of debate, the bill passed the Senate and now goes to the House. The Senate State Government Affairs Committee took up legislation creating new crimes and penalties for handling another person's absentee ballot or ballot application. Republicans say the measure is needed to prevent ballot harvesting, but Democrats say it amounts to voter suppression, particularly for the elderly. House Bill 209 is sponsored by State Representative Jamie Keel, who agreed to amend the bill to downgrade the felony charges. The amendment also removes distributing absentee ballot applications from the actions deemed as crimes and makes special exceptions for people with disabilities.
We want to make sure that there's no opportunity for criminal behavior to happen or fraudulent behavior to happen. So what we don't want is someone to be unduly influenced while either filling out their application or when they take the ballot. We don't want the person to be unduly influenced. And the people that we listed are people that should be trusted. They're family members, or there's somebody that lives with them, or it's back to the government officials that are elected and are accountable to the people.
HB 209 is the worst thing I've seen since Shelby versus Holder. It's the beginning of them dismantling all the work that was done in the Senate for the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act, and all of a sudden you make it a felony for someone to help someone who can't help themselves vote.
The bill passed committee and now goes to the full Senate. A special event today, honoring a special public servant. State employees have noticed a massive new parking deck going up behind the Folsom Building on Ripley Street. That was the brainchild of former Finance Director Kelly Butler, who recognized the need for more in-state employee parking. Butler retired last year, citing a diagnosis of ALS, sometimes known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Today, Governor Kay Ivey officially named that parking deck in honor of Butler, who worked for more than 30 years in state government. Ivey applauded Kelly for his service and for the ALS awareness work he is doing in retirement.
Folks, it's a real pleasure to be here to celebrate one of Alabama's very best. He's a man that has spent his entire life serving others and working for the greater good. Whether it was his time with the Department of Revenue or when I asked him to serve as my finance director, Kelly has consistently set the standard for what it means to be an exemplary public servant. He steadied Alabama's financial ship through some incredibly difficult times, and is someone I know I can always count on.
There are lots of people in real property management and other places that work very hard on this building, and they deserve a lot of thanks also for getting this done. So I guess to sum up, I'd say if you see a problem, try to address the problem, wait for your opportunity, and then most importantly, go talk to somebody that really knows about it more than you do and see if it'll work.
We're proud of you, Kelly, and we're rooting for you. We'll be right back.
You can watch past episodes of Capitol Journal online anytime at Alabama Public Television's website, aptv.org. Click on the Online Video tab on the main page. You can also connect with Capitol Journal and link to past episodes on Capitol Journal's Facebook page.
Joining me next is State Senator Donnie Chesteen. Senator, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Todd, for having me on.
Well, it's a big day for you because your bill is on the floor. This is revisions to the Alabama Accountability Act. This was kind of the original school choice bill, school choice law that was passed years ago. Your bill updates it. Walk me through the high points.
Well, you're exactly right. We passed the first school choice bill back in 2013. And what we tried to do with the modifications that we made was expand it to give more students an opportunity to qualify for scholarships. It started with raising the poverty threshold from 185% to 250%. So a family of four with in the original bill could make roughly $51,000 a year and qualify, and by raising it to 250% of the poverty threshold, they could make right at $70,000 a year and qualify for the scholarship. So obviously doing that brought more students, made more students eligible. And the other thing that we looked at doing, we removed the failing language. We wanted to get away from the failing and use the state report card, the grade that goes out to all the schools every year. We used the D and F as the schools, and we're calling these schools priority schools. And the failing schools in the prior legislation, there were 79 schools that were eligible for the scholarships. By including the D and F schools, we now have 212 schools that will qualify. So by doing those two things alone, we've expanded the opportunity for many students to qualify for the accountability scholarship.
Yeah, I mean, dramatically expand just the universe of children whose families would be eligible. And this is, like you described, someone's in a struggling school and their parents want an opportunity to take that child to a better environment, a better school, a private school scenario. So not only are tax credits available, but also scholarships through these scholarship funds. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, the scholarships are available, for these students, for these parents who would like to get their children out of a priority school and into a qualifying public or non-public school. Mm-hmm. Another change that we made was raising prior in the old legislation, an elementary school students qualified for $6,000. A middle school scholarship was $8,000, and a high school was $10,000. What we did is we raised the cap to up to $10,000 per student, regardless of grade.
When you talk to your colleagues and also others in the education community, do you get the sense that these revisions are going to be exciting for families? Do you think people are going to buy into this and participate at a higher rate than they have in the past, once the word gets out that this is available?
That's the intent. We're hoping again and these parents will be notified in the spring of the year as to the grade that their school made, mm-hmm. whether it was a D or an F, and the opportunities that will be available for them. The deadline for the parents to qualify or to register for the scholarships is June 30th.
Okay.
After June 30th, then those remaining scholarships that are available, that this 75% is really for the first-time scholarship recipients. The remaining 25% will be for any student that's in a priority school that would like to apply for a scholarship.
Okay. Now, so when it came to this other school choice bill, this price bill that has been up, one of the big factors that is in its disfavor against it is accountability. Folks have argued that, look, you've got to have accountability in the bill to make sure that the state can understand the progress that's going on with these funds that leave. What about your bill? I mean, is accountability following these students that may leave one school and go to another? Are we going to be able to track that?
Correct. Yeah, we kept the same accountability in the revisions of this AAA that was in the original bill. The public school students will be tested on the ACAP test that they take every spring, and the students that are in private schools, they will be tested on whatever norm reference test it is that they have been using. So we kept the same accountability standards in this legislation as well.
And on that same point, a lot of folks have bought into that price bill mm-hmm. and consider it, that's the school choice bill. And so when you get to the end of the session, if that one hasn't passed, you're going to hear a lot of people say, well, the legislature didn't do school choice, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. but that may not be the case if your bill passes. Is that what you're going to be arguing?
Well, the Price Act can stand on its own. I know parents want that, and I do not disagree with what they're the intent of that legislation, not at all. I think that it has some work to do as far as the accountability side, and hopefully we can get to that place where, mm-hmm. There are some standards in there that we know how these kids are doing.
Right.
But we're going to continue to try to push the accountability bill across the finish line, And one thing that I didn't mention is we included in this piece an escalator. It's been 10 years since the original passage of the Accountability Act, and it's only hit the cap, the $30 million cap, 2 years. Last year, Senator Roberts passed some legislation that would extend that tax credit up to $100,000 per year. We're hoping that that will help the scholarship granting organizations, reach their goal of the $40 million cap. But in order to grow the cap another $10 million, the SGOs have to hit 90% of their goal 3 out of 4 years. So we build in a down year there because it's not our intent to keep it from expanding. We want to be able to increase the cap, but there's some work that has to be done in order for it to to hit that escalator.
Okay. We're going to be following this bill. We're out of time, but thank you, Senator, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me on, Todd.
We'll be right back.
You can watch past episodes of Capital Journal online at video.aptv.org. Capital Journal episodes are also available on APTV's free mobile app. You can also connect with Capital Journal and link to past episodes on Capital Journal's Facebook page. And you can listen to past episodes of Capital Journal when you're driving or on the go with Capital Journal podcasts.
Joining me next is former Congressman Jo Bonner, president of the University of South Alabama. Mr. Bonner, thanks for coming on the show.
Todd, it's a real thrill to be back on the show.
That's right.
I think I was here right as I was leaving Governor Ivey's office and right as you were about to come on to the program. So
that's right.
But I've been a big fan of yours for many years, and it's a real pleasure to be on the program with you today.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the time. And I know you're in Montgomery, kind of traveling the state today, but a lot of big things happening at the University of South Alabama. I know y'all are celebrating your 60th anniversary. Talk to me about the growth, all the new things that are happening at the University of South Alabama. I know especially the medical school has just made huge strides. It's talked about here in Montgomery.
Well, it should be, because Montgomery's been a big part of some of the plans that we've got. But you're right, we celebrated earlier this month our 60th anniversary. And just to put that in perspective, it took the University of Alabama about 141 years to get to be our size. It took Auburn about 100 years. So in much less time, we've got about 13,500 students. We're hoping for a big enrollment this coming fall. But we kicked off the 60th anniversary just a few weeks ago down in Mobile. And we did it with a commitment that we're going to honor those who helped us get where we are, the first three presidents, Dr. Whidden and President Moulton and Dr. Waldrop. But we're really going to focus on the future. We want to look at the next 60 years and where this university can go as not just only a regional university in Mobile and Baldwin counties, but really as the flagship of the Gulf Coast, which is kind of the way we see the opportunity in front of us. So healthcare is a big part of that. Back when I was in the governor's office, but long before I knew that there would be an opportunity to go to work at South, Governor Ivey and Kelly Butler, our then finance director, were able to invest $50 million of the PSCA premium bond money in a new medical school. And then Senator Shelby and the federal delegation, which you and I both know a little bit about, you more than me. Senator Shelby helped us get $60 million, and then the USA Foundation put another $30 million. So we've got $140 million in the bank. We are going to be starting the work on that. We already have started. And this will allow us to have the newest, most state-of-the-art medical school in America. And when you think about the fact that 42% of our students come to South because of the health programs, whether it's nursing. We've got the largest college of nursing in the state, and we have a nursing shortage, of course, nationally. We also have one of the largest nursing graduate programs in the nation. Allied health, physical therapy, occupational therapy. We even have a pharmacy program in cooperation with Auburn University. So healthcare is a big part of what we will be building on for the future, because when do you think we're going to wake up and say, yeah, we've just got too much health care. We're too healthy. We don't need all that.
Well, you talk about nursing and medical school. We've been talking on this program for weeks about the doctor shortage and the nursing shortage, both. And I mean, they've passed bills here in the legislature to fix both those problems. Sounds like y'all are right on it. I know you've just acquired Providence Hospital.
We're in the process of acquiring. That was another pretty big announcement that we had about 6 weeks ago. Providence is the oldest hospital in Mobile, built in the 1850s, but it has been a part of the Ascension Catholic Network.
Mm-hmm.
And Ascension notified us last April that they were going to be exiting the Mobile market. So they gave us the first right of refusal, if you will. We've done our due diligence over the past year. And, you know, the neat thing about that, not only do we have need, on any given day, our hospitals that we've got, University Hospital and Children's and Women's, are about 130% capacity. So we've got people waiting to get a room. This will open up some rooms that we currently don't have access to. But go back to the training of teachers, of nurses, of doctors, of others in the healthcare. This will become a teaching laboratory for them, another real asset for us as we serve not only Mobile and Baldwin counties, but really the entire Gulf Coast.
Mm-hmm. I know you recently had a pretty significant gift in the Performing Arts Center.
You know, it was amazing. The Mitchell family has been one of the most generous. It was Mayor Bubba Mitchell to his friends and his brother Abe and sister-in-law Arlene. Arlene is actually the chair of our board. The Mitchell family never, to my knowledge, has taken a single class at the University of South Alabama. But they said many years ago that they made their money in South Alabama and they wanted to dedicate all their time and effort to helping the region, and they chose the University of South Alabama. So Mr. Mitchell, Abe Mitchell, who made the $20 million for the Performing Arts Center announcement, I think he's donated over $110, $120 million,
wow,
which is pretty good for, you know, coming from Camden, Alabama. We didn't actually have that many zeros on our calculator. But that will give us yet another opportunity to take this beautiful campus. You know, we're on 1,200 acres of land. It used to be in West Mobile. Now Mobile's kind of grown that part of the city out to us. So this will be something that not only will our students and our faculty benefit from, but when it's completed, we think the whole community and region will benefit as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't let you go without talking about some of your former work, especially in Congress, where there's a lot going on up there. They've got this debt limit showdown. They've got, we've got Senator Tuberville's thing on military holds, promotions, but specifically on the debt limit, because you were an appropriator. You remember those budgets and how tough they could be, especially when in divided government. When you look from your perspective now, is there any advice you want to give your former colleagues, or is it more just, it's better to let them do it than for you to be involved?
Well, it is far better for them to do it. I will tell you, I was in Washington last week. Several of our members of our leadership team went up to visit our federal delegation. It was great to see all of them. But, several of them asked me, did I miss being in D.C.? And it's moments like this that the answer is clearly no. I was honored beyond words to be a congressman from Alabama for those 6 terms. But, at the end of the day, we've got to be able to be credit worthy. We've got to be able to stand behind the money we borrow. What troubles many of us is that we're borrowing more and more money from people that in countries that are less and less our friends. But I think from the latest I heard before I came into the studio is that Speaker McCarthy and President Biden and their teams have been working nonstop basically on it. We can't default. I mean, that's a non-starter.
Right.
And people who say, well, let's just default and start over. When you owe $32 trillion, that's a dangerous thing because of the debt and with what we've seen with inflation going up the last several months. Mm-hmm. That could cripple an economy. And we know that notwithstanding what's happening around the world, America's economy still is the gold standard. And if we were to go into a default, you would expect the worst things to happen globally. So we can't afford to have that happen. Look at Alabama. Just last week, Governor Ivey announced the lowest unemployment, 2.2%. Did you ever think you'd ever see anything that low? But the interest rates that have gone up, the cost of living that has gone up, and this debt issue that Congress is dealing with. That's a real concern, and we need to get our leaders to act like leaders and get it done.
Well, we could talk for a long time, but unfortunately we're out of time. But before I let you go, I wanted to ask you, you were chief of staff. You really led the governor's office for those years. Now Liz is in charge. Has it been fun to watch her take the reins and go?
Liz has done an amazing job. I saw the governor a few weeks ago, ran into her, and I told her how proud we all are of Liz being a young leader, up-and-coming leader for the state, and the governor's office is in good hands with Liz Fillmore for sure. And yes, I'm enjoying the fact she's taking those challenges, and I'm not getting those calls anymore.
We're out of time. Congressman, thanks so much.
Thank you, Todd.
That's our show for tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night at 10:30 with more coverage of the Alabama Legislature right here on Alabama Public Television. For our Capitol Journal team, I'm Todd Stacy. We'll see you next time.